Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth.
Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
Around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I've been looking around for salvation. I sit and listen to I've been looking around for the truth.
Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
Me I see frustration. There's a lot in this world you should know to lie. And love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you. I know that life outside is so hard. There's a lot of things that can tear you apart. I know the road sometimes feel lonely, but remember you're not the one and only. There's always someone there to help you, a helping hand to pull you through. There's only one thing you should do: take my hand and join the Love and Laugh crew. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then they love it life.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. From a cool Brisbane, it's just after 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's been a long day already, but I'm not complaining, guys, I'm not complaining. Now, tonight is going to be incredibly special. Tonight is like the apex of an amazing set of coincidences that happens so often on the Loving Life Community channel. Several months ago, Bonnie Hutt, a lady living on the east coast of Australia, emailed me and said she would love to paint the big five, the buffalo, the lion, leopard, elephant and rhino for me in 5 separate paintings, so that the money raised could be donated to the charities we support. She did this, and one of my subscribers who lives in New Zealand, Sean Pate, with Bonnie's approval, created the montage of those big 5 paintings that can be seen on all my Loving Life videos. There it is right there. That's a montage. To date, over 30,000 rand has been raised from the sale of 3 of these paintings through Loving Life live streams, with the money going to worthy charities supported by this channel. Tonight we're going to put up on auction the buffalo painting. looking for a bid above the current bid of 10,000 Rand. We will get back to this painting in a second, so you can understand how these coincidences just unraveled to the live stream you are going to witness tonight. It's quite extraordinary. In December, a few months after Bonnie sent me the paintings, I learnt about and started covering Jason Bartlett's epic walk from Austin, Texas to Washington, D.C., with the primary goal of getting a face-to-face meeting with President Donald Trump to discuss the plight of white farmers in South Africa. I had Jason on my live stream twice, covering his walk, and then he was stopped in his tracks by the lockdown in the United States. In March I received an email from Bonnie Hutt, who said to me, "Do you remember the galloping granny, Mavis Hutchison?" I replied, "Yes, of course I do. She ran across America, the first woman ever to do so." Bonnie emailed back and said Mavis Hutchison was her grandmother, now 96 years old and living in Cape Town. I asked Bonnie if Mavis could produce a short video to inspire Jason Bartlett after his epic walk was stopped midway because of the lockdown. To cut a long story short, Mavis, with the help of grandson David, did, at the request of Bonnie Hutt, produce a video, which I put up last week and sent Jason the link. Jason sent me a message back saying her words had inspired him to even greater heights. Let's listen to just a small part of that video featuring Mavis Hutchison. Here we go.
1978, at the age of 53. As far as I remember at that time, I was the first woman to run across America from Los Angeles to New York. I left from Los Angeles across. It was just on 5,000 kilometers, one step at a time. But first of all, Jason, I want to wish you luck in your run across, and also in the goals you're setting yourself. I hope you achieve those goals. I'm sure you will, because it takes a dedicated person to do something like that. I know, I was there. And I'm sure you'll come back to South Africa a better person, having achieved your goal, and then bringing all the good luck and everything back to South Africa to plough into something that you believe in. I'm sure you're going to make it. It's not going to be easy. But then, as I said, nothing worthwhile is easy, is it? You've got to go forward one step at a time. And virtually one step at a time. Newman's hymn got me through. The very early in the race, I knew it. The roads were shocking, and I virtually ran from one crack to the next. And I just prayed, said, "Lead kindly, light. Light thou my feet. I do not ask to see this distant scene. One step enough for me." And virtually that's how it went, one step at a time. Took 6 million footsteps. Can you imagine 6 million footsteps, one at a time? And I'm so proud of what you're doing for our farmers and our people in South Africa. I hope they're all aware. And I actually think you must make it known, not to the American people, but to the American farmers. Try and get their interest, and you'll find them very interesting people and very helpful people. Well, I think people all over the world are the same. They see this person running across or walking across, it doesn't matter whether it's a run or a walk. But just remember, one step at a time. Well, one drop at a time, and the river flows. One seed at a time, and the garden grows. So remember, one step at a time, and the hill is climbed. 1970.
What an inspirational lady. After I published the full video of Mavis Hutchison's comments to Justin, I asked Bonnie if I could invite David Hutchison, Mavis's grandson, to join us tonight on the live stream I had scheduled with Jason. Within a few hours, David had made contact with me via Skype, and I produced a second video where he said he would be delighted to join us tonight. At this time, he told me that his goal is to follow in his granny's footsteps soon and to run from Los Angeles to New York. Believe me, he is a very fit man. Before introducing Jason and David, who have never met before, I want to explain to you why this painting of the buffalo that is on auction tonight is so unique and so special. Here it is. Jason Bartlett's nickname on YouTube is Buffalo Bartlett. Both Jason Bartlett and Mavis Hutchison just this week have said that they would be delighted to sign the painting, which was painted by Bonnie Hutt, Mavis's granddaughter. Now, where they would sign is probably in this area here. Those signatures make this original painting of a buffalo unique and incredibly collectible, with an amazing story behind it, recorded here. Not only is it a beautiful painting, its inspirational history is something you can always share with visitors to your home or office for years to come. Now, as I said, we are having an auction, and the current price on the buffalo painting is 10,000 Rand. I'm just going to quickly go through the rules of the auction so there can be no confusion. The first rule is that this is not the last time the painting will go up for auction. There will be one other auction event. The final auction for this painting will be held when we go live with Jason when he arrives in Washington, D.C. in a few weeks' time. 2. The winning bidder will pay the money directly to Jason Bartlett in full to help him fund his epic journey. Once he confirms receipt, the painting will be first posted to Mavis Hutchison in Cape Town for signature, and then to Jason Bartlett for signature prior to it being posted to the winning bidder. 3. A bidder may bid any amount they like as long as it's above the current bid, which is 10,000 Rand. In other words, you can bid R500,000 Rand if you like, as long as we get confirmation by email of your ability to pay. 4. To bid, simply type buffalo painting, I bid Rand, and then your bid in the side chat. 5. If you have the top bid near the end of this live stream tonight, you will need to email me. The moderators will provide my email address. No bid by a bidder unknown to this channel will be accepted if a confirmation email is not received by me before the live stream terminates tonight. You will have plenty of time to send a confirmation email. Now, let's get Jason and David on live. Here we go, guys. Hi, Jason.
How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Good to see you, mate. Let me just get David on, okay? It won't be a second.
Perfect.
Hi, David.
Good evening from Cape Town. Hi.
Good to meet you again. Now,
Yeah,
Jason,
good
meet
to see
David.
you.
David, meet Jason.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
And you, Jason. Hi, how's it going?
Very well, thanks. A nice Sunday over here. Nice getting hot. I know you guys are getting a bit colder. Here we are, raring to go for summer.
Yeah, it's starting to get, it's 8 o'clock here in Cape Town and starting to get into winter and starting to get a bit chilly and a bit darker.
Are you getting rain yet there?
Actually, not at the moment. As you're probably aware, we've had huge problems with the rain. That seems to have subsided a bit. There was some good rainfall, but probably not enough to be at the level that we'd want to. And recently, no real rain, but there is a bit forecast, so fingers crossed.
Oh, wonderful. I continue to pray for rain, so you guys at least don't get punished with no water in that crisis that's going.
Yeah.
Now, over to you, Jason. You've got an announcement to make tonight, haven't you? About your epic walk.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Slightly a big one, I would say. So after a lot of prayer and thinking and counseling and taking wisdom from my parents, from lawyers, from media and so forth, I'm going to be starting my walk up again on the 1st of August. So it's approximately just a bit more than 2 months from now. But that gives this media pandemic time to just, come to semi-normal, and they can leave this nonsense and they can actually focus on real life problems, not a virus wearing masks and closing restaurants like Ramaphosa wants to stop people from drinking, smoking, and gathering in churches. So that's what my plan is, to start walking on the 1st of August. Obviously, if there's a reoccurrence of the virus and it gets out of hand and the media take it and explode it again, then I will most certainly probably have to look at my options. But as of now, I'm dedicated and I'm going to start getting refit again, or getting fit up again. And on the 1st of August, I will be starting to walk. I'm actually quite happy because the good Lord let me not cross the Appalachian Mountains in the middle of the winter. Now I'm going to be able to...
Let's see your T-shirt. Stand up a little bit.
Like this. Wait, can you see me?
Yeah, there you go. Buffalo Bartlett. There we go. Now,
Yeah,
we're
available on my website, so...
we're auctioning that buffalo painting. We're going to take bids tonight, but the final auction will be when you get to Washington D.C. And the big news, there's the buffalo painting. The big news is that Mavis Hutchison and Jason Bartlett will both be signing that painting before it's actually delivered to the winning bidder. Now, David, tell us about the discussion you had with Mavis regarding her signing the painting. What did she say?
She said she would be more than happy to do that. She was a bit concerned about logistics and how the painting would actually get here with the postal service in South Africa and things like that. But in terms of supporting somebody, particularly on a physical activity, which she's always been in pursuit of physical excellence, has always been her kind of mantra. And somebody who's pushing their body and more importantly their mind, I think, to achieve their goals, whatever their goals may be. She's certainly behind that, and of course the cause of farmers in South Africa is a cause that everybody should get behind, really. So she sent me a message yesterday actually and said more than happy to autograph that painting. And bear in mind, of course, the painting was done by her granddaughter, my cousin, the artist Bonnie. So there's a bit of connection there.
There's an amazing tie in there. Actually, in the intro, I actually went through all that. So later on, when you watch this live stream again, you can see the whole history of how this all came about, what's happening right now. It's quite extraordinary. Now, Jason, you've said you'd love to sign the painting as well.
Yes, I definitely would, and you just dropped a bombshell on me to be able to sign the same painting that Mavis is going to be signing. I think it's absolutely incredible because her words, I was actually just about to make coffee. I know you sent me a message, but your timing and my timing are like two worlds apart. So I didn't open it. I said to you, I will watch it later. And then as I put the kettle on, my mom sent me a video, and she never sends me videos. And I opened this, and I tell you what, I got teary-eyed because I couldn't believe she was talking about me. I thought she was talking about someone else. And my heart I sent it to everyone I know personally, and I'm like, goodness gracious, what a blessing. such inspiring words for someone who's actually achieved so much physically, mentally, and emotionally, spiritually, and someone that's wise and of age as well, looking at me and saying, "Hey, son, well done." And that's just a pat on the back that a person needs, and that's where I get teary-eyed even now, because it's from above. When somebody sends a message like that, it's just the good Lord saying, "Hey, this guy needs a bit of a vote of confidence to make sure that he's not thinking he's crazy or anything like that." And she just gave me a thumbs up, and it's immediately my whole desire has just increased even more. And you all know that I've got my desires pretty stern at the moment. And now it's just that little cherry on top. She's just gone on there. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to the walk. I've actually made a statement on Facebook that I'm actually going to be adding 100 extra miles, just because I feel terrible that I had to pause and stop the walk. So I'm going to add an extra 100 miles and just push myself a little bit harder.
Right. Now, just also in the introduction, I mentioned that every cent that is raised from the sale of this painting is going directly into your bank account, Jason, to help you fund your walk. Now, David, Jason mentioned about your incredible grandmother. Tell me, how did this all start for Mavis? What happened?
Well, first of all, you're talking about someone who was kind of almost a forgotten icon of South Africa in those days. She was achieving things that nobody else in the world had achieved, and she was on the Fair Ladies Honours list. She got the State President's Award, which is the highest award that a civilian can get in South Africa. And she's been to many, many World Games, the Masters World Games, and held various records.
Yeah.
But what is more amazing than all of that is when you think about where she started from. So I've been lucky enough to sit with her probably in the last 6 months and really just interview her, talk to her, record some footage, and some sound clips about her. And what's interesting is her early life was really quite difficult in terms of her personal self-esteem. She says to me, and she'll say to anybody who listens to her, at the time when she was young, she had no guts and no backbone. And yet she was able to go on and achieve all of these things. She actually used to faint when she was confronted with a situation that she couldn't handle. She would actually physically faint. And yet she went on to achieve all of these things. And I think, speaking to her, what I can get a sense of is once she found, and this applies to everybody in life, once you found your passion and what you're good at, and you can start to achieve milestones in your life, that gives you confidence, and you can then go on and achieve these amazing things. So it's just that sense of overcoming, finding what you're good at, finding your passion, and sticking with that and gaining confidence from it.
Right. Now, I just want to address the side chat for a second. Guys, look, we've got a fabulous live stream happening here. If you want to post any questions, please do so, and I'm going to ask Michelle and any other moderators to please cut and paste those questions for later, and we'll present them to Jason and to David. Now, continuing with this theme, David, as a female athlete in the 1960s and 1970s, what obstacles did she have to overcome at that time?
Well, besides the ones I've just mentioned, I mean, you've got to remember, this is quite a long time ago now. She's turning 95 this year. And she still lives on her own on the first floor. So there's a set of stairs. So it's absolutely incredible. But what is amazing is the obstacles she had to overcome just to get to the starting line. I mean, in when she started off running, females were not allowed to run more than, I don't know if it was 200 or 800 meters, but it certainly wasn't longer than 800 meters that they could actually legally run. So, she was coming from a situation where, yeah, definitely. And her first kind of, when she realized what she was really good at and what her passion was the comrades. But the Comrades Marathon at that time, she wasn't allowed to run because she was a female. So she actually had to start a few hours before the men, because if she started with the men would have been disqualified. So it's just crazy to think, in the world that we are in today, that this is what she had to overcome. And she always thought of herself as sort of an embarrassment to the running community, because she just wanted to run, and the establishment wouldn't let her run. So these were the obstacles that she had to kind of overcome. And another story that she tells is when she set the record for the 24-hour race, and I think she set a few records during that run. You're running around a track, which I think is a bit different to what Jason's doing when you're on the road and the scenery changes and the undulations of the road and things like that. But on the track, the men had their toilets set up so they could just jump off the track into the toilets. But for her, as the only woman in the race, she had to actually leave the stadium. Now you're running on a track and you have to now climb all these steps and exit the stadium and go and use the toilet outside of the outside of the stadium. So these were the kind of things that she was faced with, and yet she still had the courage to stand on that starting line, I suppose.
And she broke all the records.
Yeah, absolutely.
How far did she walk in 24 hours? Do you remember?
Oh, you're asking me now. Actually wonder if I've got it here. And I'm probably going to take too much time to look it up. So,
well, how about we get back to that in a little while? Okay. Now, in your recent discussions or filming of Mavis, what messages have come through that might help Jason?
The big one that she is talking about at the moment, as I said, I've been sitting with her for a few hours on a few occasions, just talking about her life and everything like that. And what she's doing now is very much remembering the people that supported her in her achieving her goals. And you can't achieve your goals unless you've got the support around you. And she tells me the story of, she was the athlete, all the headlines were about her. Everybody wanted to know about the athlete, and she used to come in from the road and moan because her water was too cold or not cold enough, and her foot bath was not hot enough, and all of these kind of things. And all the people that were with her along the way never got any of the accolades, not the headlines or any of that. So I think she's now written a speech which was read out at a church recently, and it was really honoring the people that were supporting her during her journey. And it's just to remember that and incorporate the people who are supporting you and acknowledge them, I suppose.
Wow. I've got to say, when I watched that video clip that she put together for Jason, you could see such an incredible energy, when you consider her age. Just absolutely amazing. She must be a ball of fire right now still.
And you know what, her mind is so sharp, and she she's always been fit and running. Actually, recently she had to go into hospital, to Groote Schuur, the state hospital, for a procedure. And I remember she was in the hospital, and she had her stopwatch around her neck, which she always used to walk around with her stopwatch. And as soon as she could, she would got off the hospital bed, and the Groote Schuur hospital corridors are long, and she would walk all the way down to the end, walk all the way back to her hospital bed, check her time, and then she would do it again. Yeah. I've forgotten what I was saying, actually.
We were talking about the stopwatch and how energetic she still is.
Yeah, and her mind is absolutely fantastic. There's just such wisdom there, and compassion and things like that. Very interesting conversations that I have with her now at the age of 94, and just great insights and great wisdoms, probably from her travels and her community that she was involved in athletics.
Fantastic. Now, Jason, I believe quite a few of Mavis Hutchison's family are watching this live stream. And maybe, I don't know if Mavis is, but maybe she is. I'm not sure. David might know. But is there something you would like to say to Mavis, Jason?
Well, first of all, your humility, your humbleness and your humility just goes an absolute mile. It's such beauty to see someone of such wisdom and such stature just be able to sit there and talk and send a message. But something that really, really just piqued me that she'll understand, and I understand now myself, is how she would go from crack to crack, you know, when the times get tough. And that little saying there got me teary-eyed. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, wow, she understands what pain you go through and what hurt you have, how your hip seize up and how your legs seize up and how your muscles tear. You can physically feel them tearing. And she just said, you just look for the next crack in the road and you just go there. For me, it's a tree, because it's just, I see a tree of life as God is in your life. You see a tree, and I need to get to that tree. And what I like to do as well is there's a corner. If there's a corner, I'm like, well, I'm tired now, but I want to see what's around that corner. And I've been like it in my life. I want to see what's around that corner, inquisitive. And her words, those exact words, I will never forget, and I'll cherish them for the rest of my life. Just that humility, the way she said it. She's not there trying to come and give me fake, you know, fake news and pat me on the back and you say, you well done, son. She just says, you know, just take it as it is. There's fact, there's rain. I mean, I'm a little bit heavier set than her, I believe, because when those trucks come past, they're lucky they don't lift me up and drop me down. But I'm carrying a big United States flag. I'm being slapped in the face by that thing when the trucks come and it's wet. It gets miserable. But her words of those cracks in the road, just follow and just step over them. Because when she said that, I just saw it as a very spiritual meaning as well. Is there's cracks and there's bumps in the road, but you overcome them one step at a time, and you handle the situation and the problem that is in front of you. So Mavis, if you are watching this, to all the family, you have raised a terrific family. I don't know you all in person, but I keep you in my prayers, and I wish I can also be 94, 95 one day and tell the same stories. And Scott, I hope you're still around then when I'm 95, so we can invite you.
Scott, Jason, I just wanted to add one thing that she said to me with a smile on her face when I asked her, how did you do it? She said, it's easy. You just got to take one more step.
True. There we go. That's true. We'll take one more step. And I can promise you, like, you get to know your body. Even now, I know exactly what I want and what I need. I've never been like that. And I tell you, because that one step, as soon as you stop and you sit down, you start seizing up and you just don't want to start again. But as soon as you put that one foot in front of the other, it just goes. But like you said earlier on, it's the physicality is the easy part. It's up here that happens. You know, the devil comes and he attacks you with things. But and also people that are around you. I've got my beautiful girlfriend that is drives my support vehicle and is my emotional support as well. And it's just, she doesn't get any accolades, she doesn't get any pats on the back, but without her, I literally wouldn't be able to do this either. It's because of that support, those people you have with you, the love that you have, because, you know, everybody's just gone and say, hey, Jason, we support you. And it means a lot. I mean, I get 1,000 messages on Facebook every day saying, when are you going to walk again? Where's your braaibrooitjies? Where's, when are you going to walk again? What's happening? But the people are passionate for it just because you've got to take one step at a time. I'm not worried about what's at the end of the race. It's the race that actually makes a big part in the difference as well.
You know what I found absolutely so spot on with Mavis's video to Jason was where she said, one drop of water leads to a river, and one seed at a time leads to a garden. You know, it just kind of sums up 6 million steps she ran to get from LA to New York. Absolutely amazing. She was 53 years old at the time, wasn't she, David?
Yes, that's right. And by the way, she also loves her poetry and her writing. I suppose when you're on the road a lot, you've got a lot of time to think and, a lot of time to set the world right, as she would say. But she also, I'm actually holding Reflections of a Long Distance Runner, which is a collection of a few poems and things like that. So I just thought of that as you mentioned those words that she said.
Yeah. Now,
incredible, because the same thing popped up to me is poetry. you tend to want to read more when you're walking, and I started writing as well. But as soon as I got back and I started working on the farm and you're busy again, my writing stopped. But when I'm out there and I'm tired and I get to a certain level and I'm exhausted and I start writing, it's just incredible what comes out. And a poem, I believe that the same reason I did it as well is I would recite these poems in my mind, and they give you such an emotional energy just to take that extra step and go a little bit further. I absolutely love that, one seed at a time for a garden and one drop of water for a river. It's the truth. It's wisdom. And the more simple we go back to simple statements and simple ways of speaking, the more depth they've actually got in them.
Right. Now, I've just seen a comment in the side chat. I think you'll love it. Karen X says, should we send Jason a razor?
Sounds like my mom. When am I going to trim it? No, it's not going to be trimming.
Now, getting to you, David, that book you just showed us, is that available on Amazon?
No, it was printed ages ago. So there was a few copies, and it wasn't, distributed nationally. It was more of I suppose, a community and a family thing. There's a few copies of it lying around, but there's a few poems in there and a few words which are quite encouraging. I won't put myself under too much pressure and try and pick one out now to read, but maybe another time.
Right. Now, Jason, you're in the middle of this epic walk, and your goal we'll get to in a moment. What has been the worst moment so far? You've covered about 2/3 of the actual distance so far, haven't you? You've done over 1,000 miles so far.
Yes, I've done 1,057 miles. I've got 500 left, and I'm adding 100, so I've got 600 miles left.
Wow, you really like punishment, don't you?
Sometimes you've got to. My people in South Africa are suffering. Even the ones that are liberal, they don't realize that they are suffering. Yeah. And I'm going to stand up for them, because sometimes people don't know what they need, and we need help. South Africa needs help. We're in dire straits. The times are tough, and we are run by a communist regime, and they are evil. And I don't stand for them. I stand up against them. Right is right, and wrong is wrong, and what they do is wrong.
Right. Now, getting back to what was the worst moment so far in your walk? I mean, where you just felt, I can't do this anymore. What actually happened? Tell us the circumstances.
It was actually in the beginning. I didn't feel that I couldn't do it. There was two things that happened. A guy tried to hit me with his pickup. Okay, he came off the road and he went right at me, and I just come off the side of a bridge, and the road was very narrow, and I've got this big flag, and it was raining, and he looked at me, and he looked straight at me, and he went for me head on, and I had such severe shin splints that I had to dive off the side of the road after walking 20-something miles that day, and I dived off and onto the side there, but my legs were just excruciating in pain. I didn't even say anything about the guy. I just looked back, and I'm lying on the grass, and my legs are in such pain, and I'm just like this. I just said to myself, and I said a prayer, and I said, this better be worth it. And I got up, and the next day I got such a blessing in any way. So, and then the other one that was kind of rough is the fact that when my heart just dropped is in Crossville, Tennessee. You guys are very familiar that we were hit and we were involved in that massive tornado that killed people and ripped the whole city down, right? A whole town, parts of Nashville and Crossville. Something amazing happened there. We had tried to book an Airbnb, and I couldn't get through. The payment went through and everything, and then the person from the Airbnb said, we're going to refund you because something's wrong with the app. And so we booked like 12 miles away, and the next day that Airbnb wasn't there. It was ripped apart. It was completely shredded. The whole house was gone. Wow. So you really feel that you are being looked after and watched over. But the next day I went to the police officer and I said to him, do you mind if I walk down this road? Because if I walk around the way the cars have to drive, it takes me an extra 4 hours, so which is a long time. And he said, well, have you got good shoes on? And I said, yes. He says, just don't stand on wires. And he let me walk through, and I went live on my phone. And I just saw the the tremendous torture that these people had gone through because of this tornado. And it just made me feel, everything we do is at such a whim. If my leg breaks, or if my neck breaks, or a car hits me, it's all over. And that it didn't make me want to stop. It just made me just rethink of the caution I need to take when I do commence my walk again.
Right. Wow. Now, David, you've got a goal, haven't you? You've got something that you're trying to achieve to honor Mavis. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, it's a goal, it's a dream. I've been thinking about it for a few years.
And Jason might have inspired you to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to certainly, if this comes off, I'm going to certainly pick his brains on the logistics of it. But there's such a fascinating story to be told with Mavis's achievements and her life and all of that thing. And it would be wonderful for me to be able to follow in her footsteps in terms of tracing the route that she went through. So to be able to run along the route that she went and contrast the two stories, everybody needs to find their purpose for what they want to achieve. Jason certainly has his, Mavis had hers, and mine would be to motivate people to achieve their goals, to kind of give them a blueprint on how to overcome obstacles, because sometimes people need that. They need a playbook. And at the same time, to be able to tell Mavis's story and contrast, I think we mentioned it when we chatted earlier, Scott, and just in terms of technology and what it was like on the road in those days versus now. The physical things are the same, but Jason can live stream and geo tracking of his location and social media and all of these things. But back in those days, you had to make sure you had enough coins in your car so that you could get to a ticky box or a phone booth to phone through to the exchange, to be put through to the reporters that were sitting in Johannesburg. It's just a whole different thing. And I've got sitting here a lot of her diaries of the route, and it would just be fantastic to be able to. As Jason mentioned, reading and poetry becomes a thing when you're on your own, I guess, with these physical hardships all the time. And to be able to read through them and contrast them would be fantastic. So that's certainly my dream. Well, we've taken the first step in terms of getting Mavis's story together and her buy-in on the whole thing. Haven't booked my tickets to LA yet, though.
You just announced it. You got to do it now. Ask me.
Oh dear, there's a social contract now.
There is. Now, David, you're a very fit guy. I mean, I picked that up when we spoke the other day. Do you do a lot of running yourself?
I wouldn't describe myself right now as very fit, but I'm certainly loved sports as a young person, and I've done triathlons and things like that. But funny enough, it's not the physical feat that worries me the most. It is the complete decision to do it. I mean, the fitness will come, I believe, and the injuries will come. All of that stuff will come. It's getting yourself prepared mentally, getting your support ready. I mean, Jason would know more, but that is what I'm also built a little bit more like a back row rugby forward than a ultra distance runner. But that doesn't really concern me as much as getting your mind right and getting your situation correct to be able to go and as Mavis said to me, it's not. Well, I think she put it in the video. It's not about moving the mountain; it's about climbing the mountain.
Right. Now, Jason, how have you found the American people? I mean, how have they treated you during your run? How has the media been treating you? Just give us a bit of an outline on that.
So the Americans have been absolutely incredible. I had a couple of fools along the road, but I mean, there were actually very few of them. So many people stop and show support, and the amount of tears that I saw is pretty incredible. People, between the ages of 50 and 70, I would say, so many of them just stopped, and they asked me, what am I doing this for? And I say I'm doing it for the glory of God. And then after that, I tell them that I'm doing it for the farmers in South Africa. And they just look and they point at me. And I'm telling you, this happened countless times. They would just break down in tears. Just say, you know what, it's so nice to see a young person actually proud to still want his freedom and want his freedom of speech, his freedom of religion, and his freedom just to walk in the open, because they feel that they've lost it. They've taken it away. It's been taken away from them. And it's just a little reminder. But, there's so many people that just open their doors, they open their wallets, they pay for meals. And it's from youngsters to women to men to blacks to whites to absolutely everyone, and that I came across that did support me. They did it out of the sincerity of their heart, and that is just, it's so warming, because South Africans, we also vibrant people, and we're caring people. We might act a bit rough, but we're still full of love. And they came up to me and they just pat you on the back and they just say, let's go. And when they would stop and say, do you mind if we say a prayer for you? And I'd take that. I mean, those prayers came at the perfect time. Sometimes I would pray for people that needed as well. But the American people have been like the movies when you see, they've just been open their arms and they've just said, whatever you need, just come. The media, like we were talking about, Chad Prather last night, he was absolutely incredible. I've been in touch with people at Fox News. I can't elaborate on too much on what's coming up, but
that's
there's
great.
Going to be a lot of. So there's a lot of great things around the country that are happening. I've had some people in the White House area that have reached out to me. So everybody that needs to know about me knows about me. So I give all glory to God, though it's not me that's done anything. My physical body would not even be able to carry me through some of the ups and the tears of muscles in me. And my feeble self would not be able to do this without the grace of God.
Well, I have to tell you, I was just about to ask a question about a meeting with Trump, and I think having an interview on Fox would be a very, very good starting point, because Trump loves Fox. He watches it. And wouldn't it be fantastic if he watched that program where you're interviewed and where you're saying, look, I'm walking from Austin, it's Austin, Texas, isn't it?
Yes.
Austin, Texas to Washington, D.C. with one goal in mind, and that is to meet the president and to discuss what's happening in South Africa. I think that would make such an awesome story. I can't see Trump turning that down. I think he would love that kind of initiative. Have you, when you say you've talked to people at the White House, have they kind of said, like, there's a chance that Trump will speak to you, or what's the situation? Can you say?
I can't say. Sorry, I would love to say a few things, but I've been reached out as soon as this pandemic just relaxes a bit. Once they give me the go ahead to make an announcement of something, I will most certainly be able to say something.
Well, I hope you'll invite Loving Life to talk to you at that time. Send us a message so we can cover that. That'd be fantastic.
Of course, no, we've come a long way already, Scott. Most certainly, you've done us a favor, and you're helping out people as well. That's what it's about. That's why my walk took a little bit longer, is because I used to stop, because I used to do 2-3 interviews during the day, and then you can't talk that much.
Yeah, I get it. And of course, this coronavirus lockdown hasn't helped at all.
No, that was, I remember saying 2 days before that, like, it was just after the tornado, and I'm like, I wouldn't say I said it arrogantly. I just said it in a joking way. I just said, there's pretty much nothing's going to stop us now. And then, like, 2 days later, I'm driving back to Texas. I'm like, okay. And now I live in Arkansas. I'm busy being farming. We've planted about 4,000 acres of rice and corn and soybeans. So I've been working nice and hard. I've been keeping, I would say, fitish. Let's just say, I'm the ideal person to have on the farm. The guy I work for looks at me, he says, man, you are just busy all the time. I'm always willing to do this. if I'm going to the tractor, I'm running to the tractor because I got to stay fit. And then I eat like a king. So it makes, I mean, I don't know why. I think I'm still hungry from the walk because I'm eating 8 meals a day and constant big meals.
Right. Now, Jack Standers actually asked a question which is related to that. And he said, Uncle Scott, please ask Jason if he has any plans to speak to the American farmers as the galloping granny proposed.
So, my friend, I actually work for an American farmer, and I tell every single farmer about what's happening there. They know. I've still yet to come across a farmer in the United States of where I am that doesn't know what's going on there. They know what's going on, and we've got their support. I can tell you that.
Right. Now, I'm going to start taking questions shortly from the side chat. We've got a bunch of them here for you guys, but please just feel free to put them into the side chat, and if the moderators can just keep posting them in case I miss one. Okay, Property Power has really hit the nail on the head. He says, Scott, tell Jason that Trump is currently my president because we don't have one here.
True that. I looked at Cyril Ramaphosa. I just literally put my phone down. I can't watch such lies and nonsense. I mean, just because a person is well spoken doesn't mean you're wise. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, he's lying, Ramaphosa. Let's face it. Now, David, getting to the situation in South Africa, which we kind of now been steered towards, how do you see things changing in South Africa post the lockdown?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be a long road. I mean, there's going to be a lot of damage to repair. It's going to be a long road, and what concerns me the most is the amount of debt that is going to be forced upon the taxpayers in South Africa. That's something that concerns me because the money seems to have been coming in to be able to pay out through UIF and things like that, but that money has to be repaid. And I suppose that is the big concern. I mean, generally, I think the world is going to change, but people also forget quite quickly and tend to go back to old habits quite quickly. So I don't know. It's going to be a long road. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And do you think that South Africa is headed towards the same sort of route as Zimbabwe?
I don't know. I mean, I certainly hope not. To me, there's always reason to have faith and always reason to believe that South Africa is just a fantastic country in terms of its resources, in terms of its beauty, in terms of the people, and I think the people in South Africa need to kind of realize the issue, I guess, is this kind of thing around education kind of permeating down into people and getting this understanding and not just believing what you're told all the time. And I think I don't know, but I certainly hope not. The infrastructure here is certainly squeaking and not being maintained, but there is some level of infrastructure here that if things can really, if they could just get turned around, it could be a fantastic place. So I'm hopeful. I love South Africa. I moved back here from the UK. To be with family and friends and to enjoy the country, but certainly it's got its issues.
Right. Okay, I'm just going to show the painting for a second, guys, because we've got that on auction tonight. Okay, to everybody watching the video and the side chat, that's the iconic original painting painted by Bonnie Hutt, who is the granddaughter of Mavis Hutchison, and the winner will get in this area here, if they want it, and I'm sure they will, Mavis Hutchinson's signature, and also Jason Bartlett's signature, which will make this an absolutely iconic painting. Now, the current bid on it is 10,000 Rand. The money goes directly to Jason to help him cover his costs of his run, or his walk, I should say. So please don't feel scared to put a bid in the side chat. Just say Buffalo Painting, Rand 50,000 if you like, whatever amount you like. It doesn't matter. You'll scare off the competition if you go high. But you do have to let me know by email that you are putting in a valid bid. All right, let's get back to the discussion. Okay, now we've talked about a little bit about Trump, and we've talked a little bit about politics in South Africa. Jason, what are your views about what's happening in South Africa?
So I come across pretty harsh sometimes. However, I love South Africa. I wouldn't do this walk if I didn't think there was a little bit of hope. Unfortunately, like David says, it is squeaking. It is broken. But unfortunately, what is broken the most is the heart and the desire of our people. That they've gone more backwards than they are going forwards. And I feel sorry for them because this whole ridiculous lockdown is hurting people. And I'm talking about blacks and whites. There's some starving people out there, and they just don't care because they're living in the past that they've elaborated that was so bad, and they've tried to say, okay, well, everything's always somebody else's fault. That's why everything's falling apart. The excuses have run dry, and these pagans have run out of excuses. They can stop using apartheid as the reason that everything's falling apart. It is on them. They have done it. There's children that I know that are around me that are born. They weren't born. They don't know anything about apartheid. They've got no hate in them. I don't have any hate in me. And what's happening in South Africa is incorrect. They're a communist regime that's run the country to the ground. They need to start saying, okay, regardless of color, who are we going to work with to fix this? But it all goes with pride. They need to swallow their pride and say, hey, we messed this up. Let's fix it. But the world continues to praise them and praise them and praise them because there's always a hidden agenda. And it's absolutely nonsense. They've broken a tremendously beautiful country. I miss my mom, I miss my dad, and I miss my brother. I would love to be able to go home once a year and go and visit them. But I can't. I just can't because I can't live like that. I mean, the everyday, the little things that you can live in Cape Town, you can live in the Northwest, you can live in Potchefstroom or Johannesburg, but you don't realize that the freedom that you live without. Look around your fences, the burglar bars, that's not normal. And unfortunately, after the lockdown and even during the lockdown, I think it's going to get worse because people are hungry and people act silly when they are starving. And I think we can all know that. And the government's not going to look after their people. And like David said, the taxpayer, they're going to suffer. The farmer is going to suffer. And people are going to starve, and it's going to get a bit bad. But I do have hope, and that's why I'm doing this walk. I'm doing it for people like yourself, David, for the people that are there that want to live in their country rightfully. I have a right to live in my own country, don't I? But yet I'm hated for the base of the skin, on the skin of the color of my skin, and it's nonsense, and it needs to stop. And that's why I am walking. This is a walk of hope because I am doing it out of hope because I want to be able to go and have a farm in South Africa, live peacefully, and go and visit it if I don't live there permanently, but go there safely and not be hated for what I am.
Well, what I'm going to do, guys, after the interview is I'm going to put you in direct touch with each other because I think you're going to have a lot to chat about, and I think that you're going to be. I think you're going to be great mates. I can just see that happening because you have a common vision, a common goal. Right now, let's get on to the questions. Ben Potgieter says, "Where are you now, Jason? How far?"
Okay, I'm in Arkansas. I'm actually just around where basically if you go look at the delta in Arkansas where all the rice farming is, I'm in the rice farming capital of the world, and I'm busy farming for a very, very, very good person, just a hard-working farmer. He's a youngster, he's not much older than me, and it's myself and 3 other people. I live out on the farm, so I am as happy as can be. I get dirty every day, and I love it.
And how far along the road did you get before you had to stop?
Well, first, I got 1,057 miles. I'm almost at the end of Tennessee. The Tennessee is a long state. And David, you'll find out how big these states are when you start walking. They're big. They're not this big like the map shows. And but what's pretty interesting is the exact spot where I'm sitting right now. The people that I work for now, I didn't know them, but they saw me walking because I walked right past the farm. And they actually saw me, and then they literally said, "Look at this crazy guy with his glasses." And we still have a good laugh about that, and because I actually walked past, and little did I know, this is actually where I walked. I was hurting the most, and maybe it's the good Lord telling me that's where my foundations were about to stop, and I was about to stay. So,
Wow. So, you got 600 more miles to go. Now, let's get back to the questions. Okay, I've got a few coming through here. Richard Kingsley asked, please ask the guests what Republicans say of the South African condition and what their view is on the way forward, particularly the Southern folk.
Richard, the Southern folk are in massive support of us, and I will also be crossing that Mason-Dixon line, and I think a lot of things will change. A lot of offense will be thrown at me, things will be physically thrown at me, and it's fine. They can do it. I don't mind. But a lot of the people in the South and the Republicans, they support us. And they don't support us because of a racial conflict. They support us because they've seen some of the good South Africans. There's some bad South Africans that work out there in America. I can tell you that make our name bad. But there's also a lot of good people. For example, Mavis Hutchison is someone that has a tremendous, great amount of history. People know those people, and they want to know us more because we've got the same morals, we serve the same God, and these Southerners are just like the farm boys back home. They're the same, they speak a different language, but they are hardworking, honest, good people, and they know what's going on in South Africa, and they know it's in a dire need, and they actually want their president to help. They're not walking around saying, this is not our problem because all the problems are always America's problems. They actually want the South African farmers that want to flee South Africa, they want them to farm here because they want their people to be fed. And the South Africans that want to stay there, they support them as well, the same as I do. I support them. I don't want everybody to leave South Africa. It's your country. David, it's your country. You belong there. You can stay there, and you should. And that's why I'm doing the sacrifice, walking so that people can stay in South Africa.
David, your response?
Well, thank you. And I mean, it needs to happen. And my question is, in terms of the people that you're meeting and the support that you're getting from the American people, how do you think that will translate into action in South Africa? Is there anything that they can do? Is there?
It's a very difficult question to answer, because in order to answer that, you have to state the truth. And the truth is that those people that are running the country need to be physically forced out, because they need to be hit with sanctions, they need to be slapped with sanctions, and they need to get out because they are communists and they are ruining their own people and the lives of South Africans. They are tearing the country apart. So something drastic has to happen. It's not just about putting sanctions, because look at the people like Julius Malema. They don't live in this world. They live in the rest of dark Africa. I mean, I used to call the Congo dark Africa. No longer. South Africa is now dark Africa, because South Africa has more murders than the Congo, for goodness sakes. So, I mean, how do you deal with it? You're going to have to either send in U.S. Marine forces, or you're going to have to slap sanctions on that they will listen to. But nobody wants it to become ugly. But unfortunately, when something is as horrid and broken and evil as what Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC are, you sometimes need to take physical force against them, and they need to be kicked out because they've destroyed a country. They have literally destroyed an economy, and they do it with such pride, and there's such gracefulness, their way they just rip the country apart, and then people just support them. So it won't be easy to get that message across, because you've got to tell the truth, and I'm here to tell the truth. I'm not here to say, it's actually quite nice. And listen, it's not nice to live in South Africa at the moment. It's nice to have a beer and a braai, yes, but it's also nice to be able to leave your wife alone at home, knowing that you will come home and she will still be there. She won't be beaten or raped and torn apart and spread around the room. Have you seen some of what they do to these farmers? It's
awful.
Not normal.
It's awful.
It's not normal. It's drastic. It's not a bullet in the head. It's raped with irons, burnt with irons.
Yeah.
The stuff is not humane. And it needs to be, how do you deal with this stuff? You take it on and you eradicate the world of it.
Yeah. Now, the Sanismo has asked, will Jason ever come back to South Africa? I guess the answer is no.
I would love to. I would love to go back every single year, but at the moment, no, I won't go. I've received tremendous amount of death threats, and it's not the time. But if the Lord tells me to go back, I'll go back. I will listen. I will faithfully listen. If I've got to go back, I'll go back. But I'm over here across the water, and I'm fighting just like a buffalo in the middle of. If you know what an old Duggar boy is, an old buffalo that's been kicked out of the herd. But I can tell you what, it takes more than one lion to take that Duggar boy down. And I'm not going down. I'm going to fight, and I'm going to push through like a buffalo, because a buffalo doesn't have a mock charge. I'm doing what I'm saying I'm doing, and I will not give up. And if Trump doesn't hear me the first time, golly, I've got something else up my sleeve that I'll make sure I get hurt.
You really sound determined. David, any message for Jason about his determination to meet Trump?
Well, I mean, your determination is clear, and I think it's vitally important, whatever you're going to do, to have that determination, to have that purpose in your goals, whatever it is, is what you need to accomplish them, and it's purpose driven, and each person has their own purpose and their own reason for wanting to do what they do, and when you've got that, then you become powerful, I think.
No, thanks, David. I appreciate that. It's true. I mean, I'm doing this out of the passion of my heart. I'm not doing it with an ounce of hatred in me. It's not a racial thing. If these people in South Africa were in charge and they were white, I would have taken them on probably even harder, because there's right and there's wrong. It's not about color for me, but it's about the evil that they are portraying on our people like yourself. You want to live in Cape Town because it's a beautiful city. Man, I've lived there. It's a stunning city. The water's too cold, so I won't live there. But it's a beautiful place, right? You should be able to live there, and you should be able to live safely. And if I can change it just a little bit for you, not for myself, but for you guys, I will.
Well, just to give you a quick example, in the last, since lockdown, actually in the last week, we've had two situations with people climbing over the walls, and one was during the day and got seen. And the other was just the alarms going off, and we heard them running off. So you mentioned about lockdown accelerating, through desperate people, crime in South Africa, and we live on the edge of town, right in the city bowl, just on the top of the city bowl, and you can certainly feel that. But these people are desperate, They what do you do when you've got no food?
Yeah. You understand. It's now they always use the excuse like, oh, but these people are they're hungry, and you don't rip up a person when you're hungry and now their head. You steal. I understand that. I mean, I understand that they're hungry now, but that's fine. But if they catch you and you confront them, first of all, the police are going to be against you, and second of all, that guy's probably going to try to kill you or kill your wife. And that's not normal, and that needs to stop. So the government needs to have their day in court, because they have committed crimes against humanity.
Now, I have to tell you that I'm wearing my Trump hat in empathy to your hat, Jason. Let me just show everybody for a second. There we go. Donald Trump. There you go. I've got a Trump hat as well. I actually got that in Trump Towers in New York City. It was about 2 years ago now, and it's actually made in China. Can you believe it? A Trump hat made in China. Extraordinary. Anyway, let's get back to the discussion. Now, Okay, Richard Kingsley has asked, please ask the guests what Republicans say of the South African condition and what their view is on a way forward, particularly the southern folk.
You've asked that question already, Scott.
Have I? Okay, I've lost the plot here. Okay, we'll drop that one. Next one. Wayne says, is Jason now including the issues that came up during the lockdown, i.e. no food for whites and no financial support for white businesses? In other words, when you talk to Trump.
I will be, yes.
So what's on your bucket list of things to talk to Trump about? Just the general situation in South Africa?
Yes, the general situation has become, because our normal has become insane. Our normal is not normal. The way I live here and the way I have to live and my parents live right now when they're in South Africa, it's not the same, and it's not normal. We do not have any freedom. There's not freedom in South Africa. I regret to inform all of you that you do not live a free life. Freedom to breathe and to be alive and not be hated and be targeted and stuff being stolen from, your house being broken into. And the reality is, yes, you might not be murdered, but you know what? Someone else is busy being murdered the same day that you're not being murdered.
Well, I think that you've hit the nail on the head when you say that it's such a slow deterioration that people don't realize how their freedoms are being impinged on more and more and more. David, you're in your, what, 30s?
Well, the 30s and a few months, quite a few months.
Okay.
43.
Oh, okay. Well, that works. Now, when you look back to when you were a young, well, you had been a young man, pre-1994, if you just think back to that time, what has been the major change for you in South Africa? How has it impacted you personally between then and today?
I mean, when I finished school, I did some studying, and then I was overseas in the UK for about 15 years, and then I returned to South Africa in about 5 years ago, and the motivating factors were the fact that it was home was a big draw card for us, you know, just to come back to the place of your birth, and I think of myself as a South African, even though I got nationalized as a UK citizen, but also to be with family. I mean, that was the ultimate decision making thing to bring us back, to be with the family. The parents were getting older, and you want to spend some time with them. And the other thing is we had a young family living in the UK, and you always think about quality of life, and it's interesting, you know, what is quality of life? Is it, as Jason said, the sunshine, the braai and the beer, or living within a gated community where you have a fear factor? So coming back was driven out of emotional feelings around family and all of that, and then I suppose, I don't really know. Some of the biggest things was things like I come from an entrepreneurial background, and it's you know, we always have this issue now with BEE and being able to kind of compete on contracts and things like that. So there's always this kind of extra pressure that you have to deal with as a business owner in South Africa. And then I would say the safety thing. I've got a young family, and the biggest difference between living in the UK and living in South Africa is the worry that you have around your kids. About maybe 6 months ago, there was a big issue with kids going missing and getting abducted and getting, you know, and it was a huge thing. And for a while, we actually didn't want our kids going to the malls at all, just because of what was happening. So I would say that the safety and the security is probably the biggest thing that plays on my mind, and the biggest thing that I've noticed or felt that was different from when I was young here to now.
Right. Now, Erica's written directly to Jason, and she says, please tell Jason that as a victim of a farm attack, I absolutely appreciate what he's doing for us. If I could, I would have joined him on the walk.
Erica, just I get teary-eyed. I can't say much because it's people like you that I'm doing this for. I do this for all of you, and I do it out of a passion because I know what you've been through, and it's horrific. And just good on you for getting up and standing up and taking life on, because it's drastic what you've got to go through, and that security and that living like that is not nice. But you have a right to stay in your own country, and I'm going to do my best. If God's given me the grace that He's given me, I'm going to fight it. I'm going to push hard through for you. I promise you that. It's for you personally. And I'm doing this for all of the people that have suffered this and that are going to suffer this even during my walk, and from this day on until the day I get there. And I'm going to fight on for you. So thank you so much for your message. I appreciate it.
Right. Well, look, guys, I'm going to wrap up the live stream shortly. If there are any more questions people would like to ask, please just throw them into the side chat. I think I've covered the questions that have been raised. I just want to say, Jason, that you are an inspiration to a lot of people in South Africa, what you're doing, and Erica's just kind of confirmed that. And I think that there's something rather magical that actually made your paths cross, and I'm just so happy that I was part of it, because I think, you both have so much in common, your determination, your desire to do things, and I can see a great friendship forming here. Now, I'm going to ask David, is there something you would like to say to Jason directly?
Yeah, I think, thank you for what you're doing for the people who are still staying here in South Africa. As we said earlier, it is hard, it is dangerous. There are major issues, and just to have someone who is not scared and brave enough to take the message to the highest of places, that takes guts. So good on you, and your passion is clear, and I think that's what drives you on and will take you to where you need to go for this, and what you want to do for the people in South Africa. And I think it's very clear from the comments that the people in South Africa are very grateful for that. So thank you.
Thank you, David. Your words will go a mile. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, Jason, is there something you'd like to say to David, and perhaps a message for Mavis as well?
David, first of all, for you, when you get here, I'll go drop you off at the starting point. I'll do that.
Come and join me for a few 100Ks.
I'll join you as well. No, I'm a man of my word. I'll do that for you. If you need a ride to your starting spot, I'll make sure I get there. I'll drop you off there. So I'll tell you good luck, and I'll shake my head and I'll say, I'm glad it's not me.
One step at a time.
Well, and then most important is Auntie Mavis. Thank you very much. I mean, all I can say, my words are feeble. My words are nothing on this earth. I say thank you for just reaching out to me, and you made my day, and you have changed my life by messaging me and saying a message. We're not always on this earth forever, and I can proudly say I can live the rest of my life. And Mavis Hutchison gave me a shout out on social media at the age of 94 years old. It gives me a warm heart. It makes me teary-eyed, obviously. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm doing this for her. I'm doing this for all of you. And David, I'm doing this for your children and your grandchildren, so that they've also got a future in South Africa, in the land that we love.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Look, I just want to thank you both for coming on. Once we've sold the painting, or we've had our final auction, it'll be in probably about September, won't it? When do you expect to get to Washington?
So the farmer that I'm working for, he absolutely loves the fact his combines and harvesters all have Trump flags on them. He loves it. I'm the right friend of this little farm, And I said to him, I'm working for you full time, but I need to leave 2 months to go, and he said, as long as you get me planted, and I planted we planted everything. We finished on Friday. We finished planting 4,200 acres. So we've been working, and there's only 3 of us because Cyril Ramaphosa hasn't let the 3 South Africans that work on his farm come over. During this lockdown,
Right.
They're sitting with me. They can't come. So I said to him on the 1st of August, I'm leaving. He says, as long as you send me a message and you wear a hat and me and take a photo with Trump, he loves it. So I want to be back for harvest season, and harvest is the 1st of September normally. So hopefully I'll be there in the middle of September.
Right. Okay. Because we'll definitely want to do a live stream when you're there. And, if we're able to cover your meeting with Trump through your mobile phone on Skype, that would be an absolute wow. That'd be fantastic. I know I'm not expecting it to happen, but stranger things have happened. So let's see what happens there. But yeah. But just getting back to this painting, once you're in Washington, we'll have the final auction. I know we're going to get a lot more than 10,000 Rand for it. This is your last chance, guys, and the people in the side chat and watching, to place a bid on the Buffalo auction. Current bid is 10,000 Rand, I think. Are there any new bids that have come through? I've been talking to you guys, so there might have been new bids that have come through. I will check that out soon. But look, I just want to thank you guys for joining me tonight, and well, it's still your daytime over where you are, Jason, isn't it? Yeah. Well, here it's 5. Here it's 5 o'clock in the morning. So we're all over the world in different time zones. Look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up this live stream now. I just want to thank the moderators and the side chat for keeping control of a very busy side chat. In particular, Michelle, I see, has been very active there. And for people who've participated in the side chat, thanks for that, guys. It's always lovely to see your comments. And for those who are watching the video now or might watch it later, I hope you've enjoyed what to me has been a fascinating discussion, especially when you consider how these two guys have actually basically come together, because there's no chance that this would have happened unless certain things happened in the background, which is just extraordinary. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. I just once again thank you, Jason. Thank you, David. And look, guys, keep in touch. As I said, I'm going to put you in direct email touch with each other, so you can chat to each other. And please take care.
And Scott, thank you for your facilitation, and also just for the opportunity to kind of give Mavis a bit of a platform, a South African icon. So thank you for that.
You're very, very welcome. And with that, I'm just going to say take care, guys, and to everybody watching, please take care, be safe, and I'm signing out.